If it's common and widely used, it's probably useful. So today's word is reluctantly. 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 We have Yumi from Japan with us. Hi, Yumi. Welcome to the show. So this adverb, guys, reluctantly, means to do something. Remember, it's an adverb, so it modifies actions. So it means to do an action in a way that involves hesitating before doing it. Now, why would you hesitate? Well, maybe you don't want to do that thing, but you have to. Or you're not sure if you should do it. I'll give you an example. This happens every year. Probably in your country it happens too, but every year I reluctantly pay more taxes. Right? You pay taxes when you buy something. You pay taxes when you earn a salary or money. And at the end of the year, you have to pay more. In Canada, we pay a lot of taxes. So look what we have here, guys. We have the adverb, and it's an adverb of manner. It tells information about how you did something or what way. So I reluctantly pay more taxes. Okay? My board is a little funny today. Can you guys see that all right? I hope so. So I reluctantly pay more taxes. Pay is the verb. The adverb comes before it. Okay, I reluctantly pay taxes. I don't really like paying taxes. That's money I have to pay the government. Now, I understand it's an important responsibility. So I pay my taxes. I never cheat them. I don't enjoy it. I enjoy earning money or spending it on products or food. I don't enjoy giving it to my government, but I understand it's important, so I do it. So it's my duty. So I hesitate to pay taxes. I don't feel great about it, but I do it anyway. What else can you do reluctantly? Well, maybe, let's say she reluctantly stopped eating pizza every day. So maybe she used to eat pizza every day. And her doctor said, hey, you know, you're gaining a bit of weight, your blood measurements are a little bit scary. Don't eat pizza every day. So she stopped. She changed her diet. She reluctantly stopped eating pizza every day. So now she eats pizza once a month, a little more healthy. Okay? So guys, now it's your turn. I want you to try using the word, the adverb, reluctantly in a sentence. And remember, it's an adverb. So in this case, it should come before the verb. Okay? Go ahead and try it. Give me some examples. We have one already. Oh, Tien from Vietnam, welcome. Yeah, thank you very much. Okay, guys, so here's Chris's example. Chris says, I reluctantly procrastinate in making difficult decisions. Now, this is interesting, Chris, because procrastinate means to hesitate. So if you procrastinate reluctantly, that's like double. That means like you procrastinating. Pretty cool. So that means you really hesitate making difficult decisions, right? You really hesitate to make difficult decisions. Great sentence, great use of it. So yeah, we can reluctantly, you know, guys, let's face it, in life we have responsibilities, we have duties, you know, students have to take exams. Nobody likes exams, so you can say students reluctantly take the exam. They don't enjoy it, but they know they have to, right? Students also sometimes reluctantly study or reluctantly do homework. Why? It's more fun to go out with your friends. Great. We have an example from Luza. I reluctantly eat less sweet things between dinners. Okay, great. Now, this noun here, Luza, things, it's countable. So when you have a countable noun, you should say fewer, right? So less works with uncountable words, uncountable nouns. Oh, I guess you can't see that. Okay, one moment. Less. Let me just clear the graphic for a moment, guys. So Luza, we have things here. Oops, where am I? Things, which is clearly a countable noun. And you say, eat less things. So less should be for uncountable nouns like less water. I drank less water than yesterday. Or I learned or I processed less information. Okay, I ate less, drank less coffee, right? But with countable nouns, you should use fewer. Okay, fewer sweet things. Okay, graphics coming back up. And let's see some more examples. Okay, John Mario says, can you fade the light? The blackboard is too bright. Is the blackboard too bright or are my pens not very dark? Let's test that, John Mario, because I have the same lighting I always do. How dark is that? That doesn't look very dark. Let me try clearing this, guys. I think my markers aren't working with the board today. Because the markers look light here for me. So I'm not sure it's the lights in my room. Let me see. Is that darker? We'll see in a minute when it dries up. Okay, let's see some more examples here, guys. But Jean Silvio, thank you for pointing that out. I appreciate that. We'll experiment with that and see what happens. I reluctantly use my old computer. It would be better to use a brand new computer. But brand new computers, we don't always have them. So I reluctantly use my old computer, right? Great, great sentence. That's from Wilson. Thank you, Wilson. What's the next one we have? She reluctantly pushed his hands away. Okay, good. She reluctantly pushed his hands away. Controversial situation a little bit. But the grammar, perfect. Reluctantly pushed. Now, reluctantly pushed his hands away means she hesitated before doing that, which means she didn't want to push his hands away, but she did. That's important, right? So it means she kind of wanted his hands not away, but close, but she pushed them away reluctantly. She didn't want to do it, but she did it. That's the important thing about reluctantly. What else do we have next? Yeah, great. Luza has a revision. Reluctantly eat fewer sweets. Great, exactly. Fewer sweets. Good job, Luza. Where's my mouse here? Now my mouse is frozen. Allow me one moment, guys. So Chris has another one, I think. Our vocational students reluctantly go to school. Yeah, let's face it, when we're young, sometimes we don't want to go to school. We want to enjoy hanging out with our friends, but we know we should, so okay, Mom, I'll go to school. Reluctantly. Good. Okay. Fayez says, I reluctantly make a diet, avoiding eating fast food to lose a little bit of my weight. Yeah. I reluctantly make a diet. Yeah. You could also make that simpler and say, I reluctantly diet. Diet can be a noun or a verb. And by the way, this is a very common thing to say. Down here it says, a little bit of my weight. When you say my weight, that means all of your weight, your total body weight. Usually when people say, I want to lose my weight, it sounds strange because it means I want to lose all my weight. Well, you shouldn't want to lose all your weight, right? You should want to lose some of your weight. So it's more accurate to say, to lose a little bit of weight, right? When you say my weight, you refer to all of your weight. Luza says, the pen seems light. Yeah, I know the pen seems lighter than usual, right? Not sure why. I have new pens. Let's try an old pen. Luza has been here with us before, so she remembers. See, that one looks dark. I'll use this one. Maybe it's new pens, and they haven't got themselves ready yet. Maybe pens need like a warm-up. Okay, I have a red and a blue, nice and dark. Great. Okay, I'm going to use those. Let's see if I missed. Okay, good. We have one from Facebook user. He reluctantly decided to accept our idea about the environmental issue, right? Reluctantly decided. Yeah, guys, this is a worldwide problem, right? People are telling politicians and leaders, hey, we have to do something about the environment. Politicians usually move things slowly. So when they do make a change, it's reluctantly. They make the change reluctantly because, change requires money, time, effort, and risk. And politicians don't like risk. We have one here from another Facebook user. Michael reluctantly left her at the hospital for the night. Okay, great. So Michael was visiting his friend at the hospital, maybe his partner, and, didn't want to leave the hospital. Michael prefers to stay with his friend or partner at the hospital, but hospitals have visiting hours, limits. So he had to go. So he hesitated before going, but eventually went. Okay, I think that's caught up, guys. I'm going to move away from let's finish up the vocabulary section and move on to a couple questions I want to answer, and then I'll take your questions. So I'm going to get rid of the graphic in a moment. Does anyone have any questions about reluctantly? How to use that adverb? If not, we'll move on. Okay. Sorry, guys. My mouse is jumpy. Okay, get rid of that graphic. It's much better when I have a helper on the show. Okay, I'm going to go through a few really simple questions, but they're all kind of related, I found. And by the way, if you missed the show, you can always contact me on social media and give me the question you want to be answered on the show, and I'll do it in the next week. And I've got a couple of those. Usually, if I have a guest, like I did last week, I don't have a chance to answer your questions, so students and viewers will send me those questions. And we've got a couple. Now, I'm going to answer these two questions in a row because they're kind of related. When we talk about language, it's important and useful to think of it like a triangle, and teachers know about this. And I've said this before on the show. We think of language in 3 dimensions: form, meaning, and use. Form is the grammar, the structural rules and patterns of a language. Meaning is related to semantics, the idea that you're communicating. And then use involves things like how it's used in specific cultures or specific contexts, pronunciation, things that are related to the way we use it. And sometimes the answer to a question is a combination of these, one of those things, or differently. And I'll show you a couple examples. Because the first question is, what's the difference between well and good, right? Let me show you an example. How's that? Much darker, right? She sings good. She sings well. So people say these all the time and they get them confused. And by the way, native speakers get this confused. There's actually a pattern I've seen, especially with American speakers, where they'll choose this. And I'll show you why in a second. Let's identify the parts. Let's break it down. We have a subject, we have a verb, and then we need to think about what part of speech the word good is. Well, as it turns out, good is an adjective, and well is an adverb. So they are different grammatically. Their forms are different. But what do they mean? Right? The meaning. They kind of mean the same thing. They mean positive. Something's good, or something is done well. So the meanings are very close, right? Positiveness, goodness, well, it's the same idea. But we can't use them the same because they are different parts of speech. Adjectives, as we know, have to modify a noun after it. Good what? Right? This is a good pen because we can see it on the board, right? Good is the adjective, pen is the noun. Good pen. Well is an adverb. Well doesn't need a noun over here. Well can modify the verb. So in this sentence, we have a subject, we have a verb, an action verb, so we can't have good here, right? Because there's no noun to describe. You can't describe a noun with an adjective if you don't have a noun. So this sentence should be, she sings well, okay? But let's describe the song. She sang a good song. Okay? She sang a good song. Song is the noun. This is the adjective describing the type of song. So with these 2 words, well and good, the difference is not meaning. The meaning is the same, basically. The form is different. The parts of speech are different. And therefore, you have to use them differently, okay? Now, sing is an action verb. However, if we have a be verb, we can put an adjective here, right? Because when you have a be verb, it's like mathematical equal sign. It means she equals good, good equals she. So in this case, the adjective is describing the subject, and the subject's a noun. So if you have a be verb, you can use this. In fact, you should, to describe her. It's when we have an action verb and we want to describe the action. How did she sing? Well, she sings well. Okay? So the difference in this example is part of speech, and that's related to form. Now the next question is very similar. And we can compare them. What's the difference between accept and accept? Well, sometimes the words sound very similar, and I understand why that's confusing. These tend to sound the same, but if you really listen, there's a slight difference. The first vowel sound here is a. The first vowel sound here is e. Now, some native speakers may not pronounce them differently, but you should. Accept, accept. accept, accept, accept. Okay? So that's pronunciation, a little bit different. Let's make a couple example sentences. Let's try. Can you see this? She accepted the cat. Chris was at home one night and a cat tried to move into her home and she accepted it. She did not refuse the cat. Okay? And then let's say she likes all cats except tigers. Sorry the board's a bit messy, but that's how I do it. Okay, let's compare these. In the first example, she accepted the cat. We have a subject. We have an object, which is the noun cat. We have the verb accept. So we now know accept is the verb. Look at this sentence. Subject, verb, object, accept, and then we have here another noun, tigers. This is not a verb. This is a preposition. Prepositions. Now you know other prepositions like in, on, between, near. There's a lot of prepositions. That's one of them. It comes before a noun. It connects nouns. All prepositions connects nouns. And they come before nouns, right? That's what the part of the word pre means. Preposition. Pre-noun position, before the noun. So, accept, accept. What's the difference? Different forms, different parts of speech, right? One is a verb. It means to agree to something or to welcome something. So one's a verb, one's a preposition. Very different grammar, very different form, different parts of speech. How about the meaning? Accept means to welcome or to receive and agree, right? Accept means not included. Chris likes all cats, but not tigers. Tigers are scary and dangerous. She likes all cats, except, but not tigers. Tigers are not included. They're not welcome. So guess what? The part of speech is different, verb, preposition, and the meanings are different in this case. The meanings are different. Different ideas being communicated. And, by the way, different uses, different positions in the sentence, different pronunciations. Now, you're probably thinking, okay, teacher, you understand that, but how can I understand that? Good question. There's no easy way sometimes, but there is one easy way that involves work. So the way to understand these differences is simple, but it's not easy. And that is use a dictionary. A lot of language learners, they want to learn the fun way, chatting, listening to music, watching videos. However, if you really, really want to learn a language and really deeply understand it and excel at it, you should use the dictionary, because the dictionary tells you all of this stuff that I just told you. If you look up the dictionary, you'll find out that accept is a verb, right? And that's where it's used in the sentence. And if you look up the word accept, you'll find out it's a preposition, and so it should come before a noun. And you'll find out the definition is different, right? And the spelling is different. And the dictionary can even give you the phonetic pronunciation, if you understand the phonetic alphabet. So guys, it's not easy, but it is simple. Check the dictionary. The dictionary can tell you a lot of information and answer some of these questions. Because in the case of well and good, what's the difference between well and good? One's an adverb, one's an adjective. Dictionary tells you that, right? What's the difference between accept and accept? Dictionary tells you that. So I know a lot of students don't want to hear, look it up in the dictionary, but it works. It is a solution. I understand technology has evolved and There's lots of other ways to learn a language. But I strongly believe there's no substitute for a good old dictionary. When I learned English as a kid, I used a dictionary all the time. And in fact, sometimes I still do when I encounter a word that I'm reading and I don't quite know it. Now, I can also understand words' meanings and form from context, but I'm not afraid to use a dictionary. In fact, I have one here I wanted to show you because it's really kind of big and crazy, but I don't know where the heck it is. Okay, so don't be afraid to use a dictionary. It's powerful. It'll teach you a lot of information and answer questions like this. Now, there's another one I want to answer. This one's a fun one. When should I capitalize a whole word like names or she visited the library? Great question. Okay, so they didn't give me an example, but they asked about names, like they saw some names capitalized. For example, his name is Paul Duke, right? Or the example, she visited the library, all capital. So the question is, when should I capitalize a whole word like Duke or library? When should you do that? The answer is quite simple. When should I capitalize a whole word like names or like she visited the library? When should you do that? Never! Never do that. Never! Not even in some situations. Never! In English writing culture, this is unacceptable. When you make all capitals, it sounds loud and angry, like library. And nobody wants to read that. What has happened is this kind of habit has come out of social media culture where people want to emphasize a word and where is it? Oh, I can't find it, guys. So sorry. Yeah. When you're text messaging, you cannot make emphasis with underlining a word or italics, which is the normal way to make an emphasis, to make a word stronger in writing. So instead, the only thing they can do is make capitals. Okay? But outside of text messaging, you should never do this. You should never do this in your academic writing. You should never do it in your blog posting or social media posting. It's not conventional. Okay? Names should not be fully capitalized. Now, I work with a lot of students from Japan. And in Japan, sometimes they do that because they want to make it clear which one is the family name. Because in Japan, the family name is presented first and the personal name is presented second. And yet they have to do academic work in English for an international partnerships. So they want to make it clear for people outside Japan who don't know the Japanese names, which one's family name, which one's personal name. So they do that as a conventional, again, back to our triangle, form, meaning, and use. Part of use is called conventions. Ways of doing things that are just adopted because they work, they function. So using the last name in capitals in Japan has a function to make it clear for non-Japanese readers, okay? But outside Japan, in English writing culture, never do that. Okay? The capital of a name goes in the first letter only. Okay? And that's also true for places, right? Like Canada, a country name. And by the way, in English, you need to capitalize the first letter of a country even in adjective form, right? Canadian weather. Okay? So Canadian is the adjective. It still needs a capital. That's different than Portuguese or Spanish, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, any of you who speak Spanish or Portuguese, but In English, you should capitalize the adjective form. Canadian, Japanese, American, Colombian. Okay? When else do you capitalize? Names of companies like Apple. Apple, the computer company. Capital A. Right? Names of academic subjects like I study history. Capital letter. I study English. Right? Okay? That's capitalization. How about a sentence like this? She visited the library? No! No way! Don't do it. It looks terrible. It looks loud and angry, like a text message. And you shouldn't be loud and angry in your writing. And if you want to express anger, you use words, not style. If you want to express anger to your friend, you say something like, she visited the library and it really upset me. Okay? Explain that you're angry. I see a question here from Cleonice. The internet? Yes. Capital letter. Because it's almost like a country, right? It's a place, a virtual place. And it's the only one. So capital on the front of library? No, it's not a place like a country name. It's not even a company. So it's just library. Okay? So no capitals, no all capitals. But then there's always a student who tells me, teacher, wait a minute. I have a book, and on the cover of the book, it's all capitals. I'll give you an example. This is a book, beautiful book, called The Old Garden by Hwang Suk-young, Korean writer. Beautiful book, one of my favorite novels. Look at the title, The Old Garden. All capitals. Why, teacher? Well, here's why. That's not a sentence. That's not even a paragraph. It's a title. Also, it's artwork. It's on the cover of a book. The cover has different rules. This is not a piece of reading. This is art. This is cover art. Or a movie poster, right? A movie poster can have all capitals. Why? Because the purpose of this is to catch your attention. And this looks strong, right? Strong and bold. Because in the bookstore, you walk by, this company who owns this book wants you to notice it. So those strong characters are important. By the way, if you want to read a great novel with a little bit of South Korean history in it, and also romantic and very touching, great story. Great novel. The Old Garden by Hwang Suk-young. Okay, so when you write a paragraph or an email or an article or a blog post, don't follow the cover of a book. Follow what's inside the book, right? Because in here, if they say the old garden, they don't use all capitals, right? It's only for covers. Covers have a different convention, different rules, okay? I've got a couple questions here about this. Where am I here? Capitalization is a good topic, I think. Let me just catch up here. First, I want to say hi to Roni from Bangladesh. Welcome, Roni. Bangladesh in the house. Also, Cleonice from Brazil. We have Juan from Juan Unknown. He doesn't know his last name. Hi, Juan. Welcome to the show. Okay, Jean Silvio says, we need to use capital first letter and nationality also when it's not the first word of the sentence. Yes, yeah. So country name, capital letter, always. Beginning of the sentence, end of the sentence, doesn't matter, always. It's a way of respecting it, right? It's capital, it's important. And the same with the adjective form. It doesn't matter if it's the start of a sentence. Now, it is true that a capital letter always starts a sentence, right? You can see it here. Capital letter. If we put she in the middle of the sentence, no capital. But if we put Canada here, yes, capital. If we put Canada here, yes, capital, right? Let me find another question here. May I ask why no indicates prohibition in no smoking? Yeah, so Juan is asking this. I think it's slightly different than capitalization, but I can answer it quite quickly. Signs, as you can imagine, language written on signs needs to be short, right? And powerful and clear, because usually they want to be seen very quickly. Like a traffic sign when you're driving on a highway, you only have a split second to read that sign. It's got to be simple and clear. So when they say something like, no smoking, right? No smoking, that's not a sentence. There's no verb, right? Yes, they could say, do not smoke. Do not smoke. That's a sentence. That's an imperative sentence. They could say that, but that's now 3 words. And a sign needs to be very simple and small. What does that mean if we make it back into a sentence? Right? It means there is no smoking allowed. Right? So this is the full version of the sentence. There is no smoking allowed here. You could even take it further. In this building, this office, this hotel, whatever. There is no smoking allowed here. That's the full grammar. But that's too many words to put on a sign, so they just cut it. Right? This one, because it's an imperative, it's structured as a command or an order. And they could put that. It's only one extra small word. Why would they choose this? This one sounds a bit strong, a bit aggressive. Ordering people. And I'll tell you something, especially in North America, and especially in the US, nobody likes being told to do things. In North America, there's a little bit of an anti-authority feeling in the culture. So we don't like people or even signs telling us what to do. We feel like adults and we're responsible for our own choices. So the message here is the same, but it's a little more indirect. It's a little more implied rather than ordered, do not smoke, right? That's the difference, right? So again, that's not grammar and that's not meaning, that's use inside a specific culture. So when they design signs, they're probably considering that, like, well, if I say do not smoke, somebody might get defensive and say, I'm going to smoke anyway. You don't tell me what to do, right? That's a sort of anti-authoritarian attitude. No smoking just means here there is no smoking permitted. So it's not a direct attack on somebody. So it's a little gentler. And one less word. And guys, especially in writing, and those of you who work with me in writing know how I feel about this. In English, it may not be true for other languages, but it's true for English. 1 word is better than 2. 2 words is better than 3. 3 words is better than 4, and so on. English works best when it's concise. Okay? It's designed over time, it evolved to express maximum meaning with fewer words. We have a large vocabulary. If you choose the right word, you don't need a long sentence. And part of that is cultural. Think about how the English language came from British people. British people tend to be emotionally reserved or linguistically reserved. They don't like to say a lot. Think of James Bond, for example. He doesn't blah, 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 like he's had too many coffees, right? That might be different than, let's say, South American culture, which is very effusive. And the only reason I know that is because I've spoken to South Americans and I also read South American literature. South American literature has a lot of long sentences, right? A lot of extra words. English tends to have fewer words. So if you can choose between 3 words or 2, 2 is better, if it conveys the meaning. Okay. Let me just see if there's any more questions about capitalization. Facebook user, thank you. That's a very kind thing to say. Here's a good example why people use all capitals. So in a message caption like this, you can't put italics or underline to provide emphasis. So you're putting all capitals. But if you're doing this for school or doing this for emails or business, don't do it. I want to say hello to Al-Qadi, Al-Qaldi123, whoever you are, I don't know your full name. Welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us. Somebody says, blessed morning, everyone. Tien says, I can't find your YouTube channel. Go to YouTube and enter, I'll show you. Gosh, I can't find it. Hard-boiled English, you'll find me. Or Teacher Paul's Hard-Boiled English. And the YouTube channel looks like, let's see if I can share the screen with you guys. I'm not sure if I can. I can't actually. Yeah, go to YouTube channel Hard-Boiled English. You should be able to find it. Or if somebody else can go, Chris Derboven, for example, who knows my YouTube channel, or Wilson, if you can post the link in the chat box for my friend Tien, that would be lovely. Juan says, I thought smoking functions as a noun. Smoking does function as a noun in here, but it's still not a complete sentence, right? There's no verb. If you don't have a verb, it's not a sentence. Signs, like a book cover, have different rules. They don't have to be grammatical. They have to be understood. They have to be very clear and very simple because people need to see them very quickly and understand the meaning very quickly. So that message is pretty clear when I see that in English. Okay, Roni has a question about inverted comma. This is not an inverted comma, Roni. This is a quotation mark. And it's used to quote someone. For example, in the movie, Tom Cruise said, I feel the need for speed. It's a famous piece of dialogue from the movie Top Gun. Tom Cruise and his fellow pilots say this. It's their favorite expression. These words are Tom Cruise's, right? But this sentence is mine. I'm telling you this sentence. In the movie, Tom Cruise said this. So inside my sentence, I have to quote or borrow words from Tom Cruise and put it inside my sentence. So you need to know when my words stop and Tom Cruise's words start and end, right? And in fact, I could continue the sentence. You could say this. Right? That's the end of my sentence, my communication. My communication is, in the movie, Tom Cruise said, I feel the need for speed, and this made me laugh. The whole thing is my communication, my expression to you. In the middle of that are Tom Cruise's words, right? And you need to know where his words start and where his words end. Guess how you do that? With the quotation marks, right? If you read literature, which you should, you can see this all the time. When characters are saying words, right? The character speaks this word. The character says, Blackie is dead. And then the story tells, the reader tells us details about the story. And then another quotation. So quotation marks start and end what somebody said, the exact words they said. Okay? Now you can notice closely in this example, something interesting is happening. In the movie, Tom Cruise said, I watched Top Gun on TV years and years ago. I know there's a new Top Gun movie, but the original one I watched a long time ago. So my verb is past tense, simple past, right? Past, simple, simple past, whatever you want. It's past tense because he said that in the movie years ago when I watched it. But what does Tom say? Tom says, I feel. Present simple. Because in the movie, the story happens in the present, right now. You're in the moment. So when I use quotation marks, I have to say exactly what Tom said. I can't change the quote. This is called a quote or a quotation. I can't change it because he said that. I have to preserve it. So inside here, inside the quotation marks, are the exact words Tom Cruise said in the movie. It doesn't matter the tense of my sentence, right? It could be future. I could say, in the movie tomorrow, I will see Top Gun and I will hear Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise is going to say, I feel the need for speed, right? So that's a quotation mark, not an upside down comma. Great question, Roni. Great question. Let's see. I might have an extra. Well, I think I covered the questions that were sent to me. We have a little bit of time, so now it's your turn. I want to hear what your English mystery is so I can be your detective. So, have you heard any confusing English expressions lately? Any doubts you have? Please write it in the comment box and I'll do my best to answer. In the meantime, I will clean the board. You think about what kind of question I can answer or what I can help you with, okay? And hopefully, Tien, you have found the YouTube channel. I also want to, there's another kind of, what do we have? There's something else I want to mention at the start of the show, guys. This show is free for you guys, and I want it to be free. I made this show originally because people were stuck at home during the pandemic, including me, and I wanted to continue teaching people around the world and help them. So I want this show to be free, but it does cost me a lot of money to make this show. So if you would like the show to continue, there is a way to support the show with a little bit of money. You can go to www.buymeacoffee.com/hardboiled, and you can buy a coffee for $5, and I use that money to support the equipment, the software, the licensing, a lot of expenses to make this show free for everyone to watch. So if you're feeling generous, please consider supporting the show. As well, if you're interested in the writing workshop, you can enroll now in the writing workshop, and that is www.writingworkshop.thinkific.com. Okay? Let's see. Great question. Jean Silvio. John Silvio, you are on fire. You've got great questions tonight. Okay, listen in here. Very common and misunderstood. Let's go back to our triangle. We had form. Every time we have a question like this, like what's the difference between this and this? They seem similar but different. It's really good to think about the triangle. So we'll do that. Okay, what is the difference? Okay. Let me think of two examples. I hear the birds. I hear the birds. Okay. I am listening. Well, no, that's not true. You are listening to me. So let's compare them. I hear the birds. For those of you who don't know, this studio that I'm in, this classroom, is actually not a classroom. This is my home. This is my office space. And outside there is the ocean. I live near the ocean. There's a lot of birds around here. So the two sentences. I hear the birds, right? I hear them. And you are listening to me. You don't hear the birds. Now, here's what's similar. Here is a verb. There's our subject. Here's our subject. I just use a different tense, but it doesn't matter the tense. You are listening. That's the verb. So, they're both verbs. So the form is the same. They're both verbs. The grammar form is the same. The meaning is different. Okay? Here is passive. It's passive. For example, right now, my brain and my attention is focused on you guys and the screen and your questions and the board. I'm not thinking about the birds. But even though I'm not thinking about the birds, I hear them. The sound comes to my ear. I'm not trying. I'm not actively paying attention with my brain power, but my ear is working and I hear them, right? I hear other sounds, okay? In your home, you probably hear other sounds, but you're giving your mental focus to me. You are listening to me. So listening is active. Listening requires your attention, right? Our ears and our eyes and our nose and our tongue, our senses, take in information all the time. My eyes see everything. I'm looking at the camera, but I also see the lights. I'm looking, that's active, because I'm putting my brain behind my senses. I'm focusing my eyes on the camera, so I'm looking at the camera, but at the same time, I also see other things. I'm just not thinking about them. So our senses, our eyes or our ears, take in the information, and that's passive. It just absorbs information, absorbs sounds, absorbs images, passively, with no effort, no brain power. It just happens, right? Walk into a room, you get all the smells, right? No choice. Listening is active. When you listen, you're paying attention to something, right? So the difference between visual is like, I see everything, but I watch the show, or I look at the show. That's focused. So listening is active and focused. Right now, maybe in your home, you hear other sounds, you hear other people. Maybe you have children crying, but you're listening to Teacher Paul, right? So it's active, brain power, and it's focused on some target. Hearing is passive, unfocused, right? I'm listening to my own voice, actually, because I tend to elevate my voice, and the microphone's right here, so I can keep it nice and soft and you'll hear it. So I'm listening to my voice, but I hear my neighbor upstairs. I don't want to hear my neighbor. I really don't. It's kind of annoying, but I hear my neighbor. I have no choice. The sound comes to my ears. That's hear. Hear is passive and it's unfocused and you have no control. So that's another piece. It's uncontrolled. Your ears, if your ears work, it just picks up sounds. This is more controlled. Right? Hearing is passive, it's unfocused and uncontrolled. No brain power. It's automatic. Listening, to listen to something, is active, it's focused. Right? Sometimes there's gardeners out in my garden, and they're making lawnmower noises, electric machines. But I hear them. I don't want to, but I hear them no matter what. But during the day, I like to listen to music. I like to focus on listening to music, right? That's the difference. Roni's got great questions. You are on fire. It sounds dangerous, right? You are on fire is slang. Right? You are on fire. It really means it's slang, and it means you're doing great. You're doing well. Or you're doing something amazing, right? You're on fire. It originally comes from sports. When a sports player, like if you follow basketball, there's a player named Steph Curry, and he shoots the ball from far away, and it always goes in. Some nights, he never misses. So people would say, oh, you're on fire, right? Lots of energy. Everything's working perfectly. You're on fire. It's a positive meaning. It's a compliment. You're doing great. You're doing well, right? Okay, going to move on. Luza, thank you for joining the show. It's always a pleasure to have you with us. Jean Silvio. Yeah, great. Oh, what else do we have here? Oh, I'm not sure who this is, but I think they're in Korea. Is this my friend Jay? Jay, I showed a Korean book earlier from Hwang Suk-young, the writer, Hwang Suk-young, The Old Garden. I don't know what that title is in Korean. Great book. Do you know the book? It was also a movie with 2 drama stars in it. Great movie. In university, I took a class in Korean literature and fell in love with some of these writers. So that's where I learned about that book. Anyway. Okay, guys. Again, guys, if you want help with your writing, please consider enrolling in Teacher Paul's online writing workshop, available at writingworkshop.thinkific.com. And if you feel generous, please support the show with buying a coffee, buymeacoffee.com/hardboiled. Okay? Yeah, Hwang Suk-young is a very famous author, right? Very famous. Okay, so he is so famous author. You should really say he is such a famous author. He is such a famous author. But thank you. Yeah, I agree. He's a great author. Very famous. We have Chris saying, Teacher Paul is always on fire to teach us with an excellent live show. Thank you, Chris. That's very nice of you to say. Maybe we can play with that a bit, Chris, actually, to show a bit more of the meaning. On fire, right? So burning hot. Well, the truth is, if you like the show, sometimes it's because I have energy and I'm giving examples and stuff. I kind of feel hot. I have studio lights. It's very hot in my city now. I kind of feel like I'm on fire because I'm using lots of energy. Lots of excitement, lots of energy makes you feel like you're on fire. But the real meaning is like a lot of success, like an athlete playing a game really, really high level, like a basketball player can't miss. Everything he shoots is going in. He's on fire, doing really well. We have Bonnie Esther with us. Hi, Bonnie Esther. Welcome to the show. If you're just joining now, thank you for joining. We're just about to wrap up, though. Your lecture is a power of suction. Very interesting, but thank you. Hopefully I didn't miss anyone. We were just about running out of time, everyone. Now, I see a great question here by Cleonice. Cleonice, to answer this question, I need a bit more time than I have. So can I save this until next week? And I'll I'll answer this first next week and spend lots of time with it because it's a very tricky piece of grammar. I think everyone should learn it, but I need a bit of time to explain it. So I'll put that at the top of the show next week, the very beginning. Well, guys, I guess it's time to wrap up before my camera melts. So we don't want that to happen. Again, guys, if you're interested in improving your writing, learning more about what makes English writing great, go to my online writing workshop at www.writingworkshop.thinkific.com. And if you're feeling generous, you can buy me a coffee and support the show so that I can continue bringing it to you for free. As I said, it does involve expenses and costs me money to make the show, but I want it to be free for everyone. I don't want to charge admission. So if you feel generous, please support us at buymeacoffee.com/hardboiled. Well, guys, I'll take this opportunity to say goodnight then. Cleonisi, thank you. You're welcome. Yeah, next week I'll explain subjunctive. I'll spend lots of time with it. There's a music of Rem named Everybody Hurts that have the expression, don't throw your hand. That sounds strange. Jean Silvio, I'll listen to that song, okay? I'll listen to that song and study it. I can't say I've heard that song before. Don't throw your hand could have a lot of different meanings. It might also be a mistake. It might be don't show your hand. Don't show your hand is a very common expression. Don't show your hand comes from playing cards, you know, like poker, and you have a hand of cards like king, queen, club, diamond. Well, you don't want the other player to see it, so you don't show it, right? So don't show your hand comes from poker, but we also use it in life to mean don't show other people all the information about yourself, especially in business. For example, if you're negotiating something, you don't want to tell the other business everything about yourself because it may give them an advantage. So don't show your hand can mean, REM, great, thank you. Don't show your hand can mean withhold some information, keep some information secret. It kind of gives you an extra power you may need later, right? Okay, we have another question here, and I'm just about to finish, guys, so I can't answer it tonight. Roni, I'll answer this next week, okay? I'll record this and get to it next week. But I'm going to have to say goodnight to everyone. Troy Carr joins us. Hi, Troy. Welcome. Thank you. REM's Everybody Hurts. Yeah. Okay, I'll check that out. I do know the song now, but I'll check out that lyric. I have a feeling it's don't show your hand, not don't throw your hand. Okay, everybody, I'm going to say good night. So thank you for joining the show. As always, for the next week until I see you next Friday at 5, take care of yourself. Stay healthy. Take care of your fitness. Take care of your diet. A healthy body makes a smart brain. And with that brain, keep studying English, okay? And until I see you next time, everybody. Oh, people are joining us just at the end. Chin-hee Kim, thank you for joining us, but we're just about to say goodnight. I'll consider your question next show, okay? I'm going to answer that question about hands next show. Thank you for joining us. Okay, so guys, thank you very much for being with me tonight. It's been a pleasure, as always, to have you with me. I can't thank you enough for joining the show and supporting us. Bargain Betty 99, thanks for joining us. I'm going to say goodnight. So until I see you next time, guys, as always, take care, stay healthy, and stay cool.